So my talk today is there is a power for good in the universe. And so I'm going to read just a little bit from Ernest Holmes. There is a power for good in the universe, available to all, and you can use it. There is a power for good in the universe that is within you, greater than anything we can ever contact. It can overcome any obstacle, keep us safe, satisfied, and at peace, healed and prosperous. Man is surrounded by a great universal thought power, which returns to him always as he thinks. So plastic, so receptive in this mind, that it takes the slightest impression and molds it into conditions. We must not only think, but we must know. We have to provide ourselves within ourselves a mental and spiritual likeness of the thing desired. Whatever is imagined is brought forth from mind into manifestation. So we are always using the power, always, constantly. So you know what that means? When you start worrying, what's going on? You are focusing that energy into things that you don't want. So it's really important to stay focused. And I mean, we're human beings, we all go through worry. If something comes up, we're so close to it. Even practitioners and ministers will use a practitioner or other ministers to help us jump over that fear. So it's important to see what your final goal is. What do you really want? What's the final outcome? And don't worry about the how, because the universe has ways of working that are beyond our understanding. When you put your request out into the universe, it creates a vortex of energy that starts attracting everything that it needs to fulfill your desire. And that's all you have to know, and just trust and have faith. We only use about 10% of our minds. That's what they always say, 10% of our powerful minds. And how do we access beyond that? How do we get past those limiting thoughts? Well, one thing you can do is, how many of you take classes here? Okay, so I've been in this teaching for 30 years now, and you come to church on Sunday morning, and it's wonderful, you get to feel happy and feel good, but I tell you what, the real change is going to happen when you take a class. That's when you really dig in and really learn how to use this stuff. Right, everybody that's used the classes? And so if you really want to make a change in your life, that's what you do. Bruce Lipton wrote a book, Power of Belief. And in this book, he talks about, he's just this wonderful, amazing man. Do any of you know who he is, Bruce Lipton? So he took this class on how to read auras. And, he was doing pretty good. Everybody else, there are a lot of other people that were able to do better than him, but he was getting there. But when he went away from the class, he couldn't do it. So what he noticed was that when he was in the class around all these other people that believed that they could see auras, he could see an aura. So what that means is, when you're around other like-minded people that really believe that you can go past any limitations, that really believe like-minded in this consciousness of all these wonderful people, that you walk into this church and somebody asks you how you're doing, and you might say, "Oh, I got fired from my job today." And they go, "Oh, wonderful, you're going to have something new and wonderful happen. The universe is providing you a stepping stone." And so we can take things and turn them around and see that they're really working in your best and highest good, because regardless of the appearances, everything is working in your best and highest good. Even when something really traumatic or 9/11 is a really good example, where there was just so much pain and people were so hurt and angry and fearful. As a result of that, it became a catalyst that people really made changes in their lives, that they really realized the importance that we only have this precious moment. What are we going to do with it? So this weekend, I have to tell you what I did. Last weekend, I started getting involved with doing this pranayama breath work. And it's a process that you breathe, your stomach and then your chest, and then you do this breathing for about 20-30 minutes. And what happens is that it stimulates your thymus, so you produce all these endorphins, and your mind stops. So if there's any trauma that you're holding in your body, or fear, or grieving, surgeries, anything from past lives, anything that's in your body, any kind of pain or soreness, it allows it to come up, and you feel the feelings and you're able to heal. I always get into a real blissed out state afterwards that I know everything's going to be okay, everything's all going to work out, that we're always loved and cared for and taken care of. So I really like the leader, the teacher of this, and he has a wonderful following, and I really like him. He's egoless. He's not a guru. He teaches you how to do your own work, and everything that I've experienced, he really attracts really beautiful, loving people. So he did this retreat in Sedona, and I should have known. I get in the car, and we put my GPS in, and the GPS starts going like this. All those vortexes. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, it just kept, usually it'll go around like this and spin to north, but it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning. So I go, oh, this is kind of fun, So we go to, we're going to hike up to this vortex in Boynton Canyon. So we're on a hike, and I'm in pretty good shape. So, I did pretty good on the hike, and we went to this one cave. And it was just amazing, where it just, the Anasazi had built these old ruins and everything, and we were able to get in there. And so he said, well, so at this point, I have to ask everybody, how do you feel about going to a higher cave? It's a little more powerful, and, are you guys ready? We all go, oh yeah, we could do it, we can do it. So one of the women came up to me, and she goes, you know what, I'm really scared. And I go, don't worry, I'll take care of you. So we go around this corner. There is this ledge, this high, this big. And I'm not kidding, it must have been 10 stories down. I go, oh my God, what was I thinking? Thinking I could do this, it's so scary, And so I see other people that have done it before, and they're just fiddling on, So I go, okay, and so I was going like this. I was just don't look down, watching other people in front of you, follow them and everything. And people were crying and, freaking out and everything. And so I did it. And then we went up to this really neat cave, and we were claiming what we wanted to experience for the rest of our lives, what we wanted to claim from the universe, and saging and all this really neat stuff. So then when we came down, it was like I knew I could do it. I watched how the other people were walking, and just luckily when I was a kid, we used to camp out in the desert and in the mountains, and me and my brothers would climb all over rocks. So I kind of know how to climb up on rocks. And I just very easily walked away. I mean, I look at pictures and I go, I think I did that. I'm not going to do that one again. I already did that one. That's enough. But as a result of that, what I came to was that, first of all, I had to trust this leader, this beautiful leader, that would not take us anywhere that we could not do, that we could not actually do. I had to trust God and Spirit and say, if I was doing this, I had to really trust that I had everything I needed and I was fully capable of doing this experience. And most of all, I had to trust myself. I had to trust myself that I can do this. I'm not ready to go. I have a lot of work I need to do. You know, it's not time for me to fall off a cliff. It's time for me to really be who I really am and to really express. And so afterwards, you know, we did a lot more breath work and healing, and I had some really magical experiences. This crow flew over in front of me and dropped this feather right in my path. And then he went over back to a tree and he stared at me, so I know it means something. Something good, you know. So within us, we all have so much potential. I have a friend he's done 55 200-mile bike rides in the last 5 years, and he's 75. We have our own Wes that has done 500-mile runs, 500-mile runs, right? 100 miles. How many?
Separate.
5 separate 100-mile runs. I mean, what does it take to get to that mental, physical? I know from my friend that does the 200-mile bike rides, he has a group of guys that are 60, 70, and they get all their bikes out and they're, you know, go.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're all crazy. They're just like, something's wrong with them. But, you know, and they draft with each other, but they support each other, care about each other, make sure that they have what they need. They help each other if they have a flat, they have plenty of water, and they cover each other and don't leave anybody behind. And the community is what's really powerful. A couple of years ago, I took this class where we were going to bend spoons. I thought, wow, this is fun. I've heard other people bending spoons before, and I always wanted to do it, you know. So I thought, this is going to be fun, and it's going to be easy for me because I'm a minister, I'm a practitioner. You know, I'm going to go in there, it's going to be a cinch. You know, I'm going to show these other people how to do it. So he gave us 2 big, thick spoons, really big, thick dinnerware spoons. And so he handed out we all got 2 spoons. So he handed out the spoons, and so I'm going, and then I tried to visualize it bending, turning it to butter, you know, and just all these different things that we're supposed to do. Nothing worked. And so I had invited a friend with me, and she was a skeptic. She goes, oh yeah, sure, we're going to bend spoons. So I look over at her, and both her spoons are bent. But I was so grateful and thankful because she had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. And she looked at those spoons and she said, if I can do this with the spoons, I can do it with my body. So I went home, and of course I wasn't going to give up, you know, so I sat there and I visualized and I did any kind of magic that I could possibly think, you know. So then all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I had this energy come up within me. I could do this, and I just went. And then I took the other spoon and it was just like butter. And it was really about believing I could do it. Getting out of my head, getting into my heart, the heart energy, and it was just completely out of my head, and just this knowingness that I can do this. Have any of you ever heard of the Tarahumara Indians? Wes probably has. Well, they are a native tribe down in Mexico, and they are known for running hundreds of miles barefoot. Everybody in the tribe. I think the furthest that anybody, they've tested anybody, has been 400 miles. And so I was really fascinated about it and read something about it, and the reason that they can run so far is because they believe they can. Everybody in the tribe believes they can run that far. So what do? They do. They can all run that far. And because of my friend that does the bike riding, I got a road bike too. So I started riding my bike, and I got up to 30 miles, which with a road bike, it's a lot easier. Any place you can coast. It's not like running the whole way. You can coast and everything. So I did 30 miles, and I thought, for my age, that's good. That's probably the most I can really expect. And I signed up with some of my friends for a 50-mile bike ride. So I was looking at the map, and I was going, okay, if I get tired, I can cut here and cut back, and I just had all these escape routes and everything. So the morning of the ride, I was riding with a friend, and everybody else was doing 100-mile bike rides. They're really good. I was riding with the guy that has the bad knees. So we're riding, and it was like with a whole bunch of people, hundreds of people. It was in Palm Springs, and it was flat. It was really fun, and they had music and all kinds of really wonderful things going on. So I was riding and everything, and you know what? I finished. And you know what? It was so easy. And what that tells me is how many other times am I setting these limits for myself that have no basis, that I say, okay, because of my age, or because of my education, or because of my past. Well, the truth is, your past does not equal your future. I don't care what happened before. I don't care what story you have running, what experiences, how life has not supported you, how you've worked in a job where you weren't supported or paid well enough, or something happened. I don't care. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what's going on right now. What are you going to create for your life right now? So I'm going to talk to you about Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. Have any of you read it yet? Okay, Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. You want to read this book. And it's about this young woman that she was raised Hindu, which meant that she had to have her wedding, she had to marry somebody that her parents chose, and they had all these rules around women and everything, but she was set up to marry this young man, and at the last minute she ditched him, which created this big, huge thing. Everybody was mad at her within her Hindu community. And so finally she found the love of her life, and they got married and everything. So she ended up getting cancer. And she got it so terribly that she had like big, huge growths in her neck, and just, horrible, I forget, lymphoma maybe or something. And she was in the hospital, and her doctor told her parents, or her dad had already passed, told her mother and her brother and her loved ones and her husband that, this is it, she's gone. So her body was just riddled with cancer. So she was in the hospital, and she went to the other side. And on the other side, they said, well, you can go if you want. You can, if you want to go, what's going to happen is your husband's going to follow you in a few years. He'll be there with you. Or you can stay. There is a mission that you can create, that you can touch other people's lives. But she thought, well, if I go back into my body, it's so painful. She had sores and growths and, everything all over her body. And what she got was that If I go back into my body, I can heal it up. And when she was on the other side, she also was able to see that she was not judged. She was not judged. How could she possibly ever come back into this body and judge anybody? The lessons that she learned. So she came back into her body, and within a week, she was all healed up. And the doctors are going, we can't figure it out. We can't find your cancer. Something must be wrong, so we're just not digging deep enough. So within about 2 weeks, she was out of the hospital. And but the doctors and medical staff, they couldn't believe it, because here is this woman with all these growths and sores, everything. She healed up completely. She started writing a blog, and Wayne Dyer saw her blog and told Hay House, you have to publish her book. And so she published her book, and it's like a bestseller, and it's really touched so many lives. And some of the lessons that she learned throughout the whole thing was that when she had cancer, before she had her healing, before she had the final stages, she would try everything. What she discovered was that when she was in India, where they believed in Ayurveda, she healed. But when she came to the United States, where it wasn't so much believed in, she got sick again. And Chinese medicine, Western medicine, Ayurveda, all these different kinds of homeopathic, they all will say something different. What she found was that what she does now is she just follows what she feels is right for her body. We have this wisdom within us. Our bodies are miracles of healing. And all we have to do is just listen, meditate and listen. Have any of you ever heard of Helene Hadsell? Okay, so, 30 years ago, before I got into any of this stuff, I was reading Good Housekeeping, and they wrote this article about this woman that won everything in her house. She won her house, cars, vacation, all the appliances, and it was just like, it was such a, she would just win everything, and so she ended up writing this book, and it always really fascinated me. She read Norman Vincent Hill's Power of Positive Thinking, and that was before I had actually gotten into religious science. And so anyway, I got her book about 6 months ago, and I read it. Well, it's religious science. Bottom line, it's religious science, or the science of mind, what we teach here. And she also was involved with the Silva method, which is kind of the same kind of things. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different philosophies that teach what we do. So it really is about believing in yourself and being around like-minded people, and just trusting that this is a loving universe. Your heart's desires are God's desires for your life. And you have everything you need to fulfill those desires. The universe is standing on tippy toes, waiting for you to express your full potential. I think I have time for just one more thing. Okay, one more thing. The dark night of the soul. Okay, so that's a part of the process, I hate to break it to you, but it's really not that bad. And so I know for a lot of us here that when you first get into religious science, you're demonstrating parking spaces, relationships, everything's kind of easy, and you're going, wow, this is easy, this is fun. And then what happens as we get close to our dream, something happens. We end up going through the dark night of the soul. So let me read it. I got this from The Alchemist, which is just this amazing book that puts it all into perspective. What you need to know is this. Before a dream is realized, the soul of the world tests everything that was learned along the way. It does this not because it is evil, but so that we can, in addition to realizing our dreams, master the lessons we've learned as we've moved toward that dream. That's the point at which most people give up. It's the point at which, as we say in the language of the desert, one dies of thirst just when the palm trees have appeared on the horizon. Every search begins with beginner's luck, and every search ends with the victors being severely tested. The boy remembered an old proverb from his country. It said that the darkest hour of the night came just before the dawn. Thank you.